Brenda, can you move Andrew over?
Yeah, I just did.
Thank you.
Oh, good evening. I think we're just waiting for Vice President Zepeda. Give it one more minute and then we can start.
He just texted. I'm not sure if he's having trouble getting on or if there was a different link.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm promoting him to panelist.
Okay, great.
Great, thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
Hola.
Good evening.
Great, thank you. All right, I'm good. We have Vice President Zepeda. Director Alvarado is still ill. He's been ill all week, Saturday, so he won't be joining us this evening. It is 6:33. Ms. Brenda, our district clerk, will you please call us to order?
Will do. Director Alvarado isn't present. We'll start with Director Stanley.
Yes.
Director Weiner.
Here.
Vice President Zepeda.
Here.
And President Seta.
I am here. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. And now it's time for public comments on items not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, did we receive any public comments or requests to speak for tonight's meeting?
Madam President, we did not receive any written requests for public comments, and I do not see any attendees on our list.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Before we get started, I did want to remind everyone that Vice President Zepeda will be serving as our parliamentarian for tonight's meeting. And Vice President Zepeda, are you prepared to take on that duty, sir?
I am, Madam President.
Thank you, sir. with that, I'd like to turn over the virtual gavel to our General Manager, Ms. Lisa Malekzadeh, to lead us through the rest of the agenda. Madam?
Thank you, President Sudeth. So the next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. And items on the consent calendar this evening are items 1 through 8. Let me just confirm I have the numbers. Yes, 1 through 8. And if there are no questions or any additional public comments, we would recommend the board make a motion to approve the items.
Thank you. Did we have any public comment on this, Ms. Brenda?
Madam President, I did not receive any written comment for this. And however, I do see a hand raised on the attendee list for the consent calendar. And I have unmuted Geraldine Gonzalez.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Would you like to say something about the consent calendar?
Yes, good evening, Madam President, Board of Directors, and to everyone. If you don't mind, I would like to speak on the consent calendar on item number 3, the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding.
Okay, so let us pull that one on number 3, and so that you are allowed to speak on that one. Are there any objections from the board members for that? I see Director Weiner shaking his head. Director Stanley shaking her head. Vice President Zepeda? Wonderful. Okay, Ms. Gonzalez, if you can just hold on for a moment, we will give you an opportunity to speak on that. Okay?
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. With that said, are there any additional public comments, Ms. Brenda?
Madam President, we do not have any additional comment for the consent calendar items.
Thank you so much. With no additional public comments, is there a motion from the board for the consent calendar?
Motion to move the consent with the exception of the item pulled.
Thank you, Director Weiner. Is there a second?
Second.
The items been properly moved and seconded. Items 1 and 2 and 4 through 8. Is there any further discussion from the board? If not, I would like the clerk to please pull the board's vote.
Thank you. Director Stanley,
Yes.
Director Weiner,
Yes.
Vice President Zepeda.
Yes.
Thank you. And President Sudeth.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The motion passes.
We have pulled item 3 from the board, and we have a public member who wants to discuss item number 3. Typically with this, we move this item to the end of the agenda, and I want to ask the board's favor in either discussing this now, or we typically move it to the end of business. Would the board like to discuss this now to allow the public member to speak on it? Or would you like to move this to the end of the agenda as usual?
Now would be good.
No,
Director
would be
Weiner?
good.
Now would be good? Okay. Is there any objection to discussing it now? Okay, wonderful. So we will discuss this now. And with that, we will take the public comment first. Ms. Brenda, will you please allow Ms. Gonzalez to speak on this item number 3?
Thank you. Speaker Gonzalez has been unmuted.
And Vice President Zepeda, will you please advise her of her time limit, please?
We'll do 2 minutes. You said?
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Geraldine Gonzalez. On behalf of the Managerial Employee Unit of the Local 1, we would like to thank the board in advance for ratifying this agreement. our unit has recognized that the board has preserved the members' medical coverage, and we do appreciate that. We also would like to appreciate the recognition on the retroactive pay. We would like to thank the board for working with us in getting this agreement. We would like to thank Charlie Howard from the RGS, and especially we would like to thank Andrew for leading this negotiation. I just want to thank everyone on behalf of our unit, and thank you for your time, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Are there any other public comments on this? Madam Clerk?
Madam President, we have no other comments, public comments.
Wonderful. And do we have any board comments on this? Director Wiener, go ahead.
I'd like to thank Geraldine for coming forward and making a public comment regarding the MOU.
Thank you, Director Wiener. Director Stanley, did you want to say something? Oh, Director Zepeda, Vice President Zepeda, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
I want to echo what Director Wiener mentioned. Thank you, Geraldine, for coming over, and thank you to the unions in general for working with the board and with management and reaching an agreement that could work for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Zepeda. Director Stanley, go ahead.
I echo everybody else and thank you and all the staff in this unit for jobs well done. Thank you so much, Geraldine.
I will be glad to pass the message to the entire MEU.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. We appreciate you all working together to get this done. And thank you to the staff and RGS and our negotiators for getting this done and timely getting it done. We know that this is never an easy thing to do. So thank you so much. And thank you for coming here tonight to speak on behalf of the unit. With that said, we do need a motion to approve the new managerial employee unit memorandum of understanding for this term, July 1, 2021 through 30 June 2024. May I have a motion on this, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Wiener. The motion's been properly made by Director Wiener and seconded by Director Stanley. If there's no more discussion, District Clerk, will you please pull the board?
Thank you. Director Stanley?
Yes.
Director Wiener?
Yes.
Vice President Zepeda?
Yes.
And President Sedith?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The motion passes.
Back to you, Madam General Manager.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is other business. And the first item we have are reports from General Counsel, General Manager, staff. We do have the monthly check register and the quarterly investment report, and we're happy to answer any questions on that. But before we do that, I'm going to ask the General Counsel to comment. She has something brief update for the board.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. I'm speaking tonight just to update the board on the status of the censures of Directors Stanley and Wiener. As I reported to you last month, Director Wiener has begun his trainings and I believe is scheduled to complete them in December. However, Director Stanley has not yet arranged with the trainer to have either of her trainings scheduled. And that completes my report in connection with that matter.
Thank you. Again, so the next item, and President Sedith, I don't know if there's any discussion on that, but I just wanted to make sure you had that update. And if there isn't any discussion, we will move on and take any questions if there are any on the check or the quarterly investment report.
Directors, do we have any? Go ahead. Go ahead.
This is a matter of Brown Act policy. We cannot have a discussion on my report, but you can ask me questions. Brief questions and brief answers. I'm sorry, just to clarify.
Sure. Does anyone have any questions on General Counsel's report?
Oh, no.
Okay. Director Stanley, you had your hand up. Is this for something different?
Well, I sent you a response, President Seth, about I had emailed the trainer and she hasn't gotten back to me.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, General Manager. You may proceed.
Yeah, so just if there are any questions on the check register or the quarterly investment report.
Director Stanley, go ahead. I see your hand up.
One comment and two questions, please. First comment is bravo, Lisa and staff, for the, I think I counted 11 people took advantage of the pipes program, so good on that. And then I had two questions. Now that we got this communications person, are we, and I saw that this checks register had like $60,000 to CV Communications. Are we still going to be having that charge, or is the communications person going to start doing that work?
So the communication.
That's my first question. And I'll wait for an answer.
Okay. So the communication specialist, Kate Gibbs, she is taking on more and more of that work, as we had mentioned during the contract amendment for CV Strategies. CV Strategies will still be doing some work, but we are transitioning more and more of that to internally. The work that primarily CV Strategies has been doing, which has resulted in the higher invoices recently, are the FOG campaigns, which have been pretty pricey. And if you've seen them online, you'll see that they are performed by actors, they're professionally done. So those, and that was part of the contract amendment that went to the board back in January. So yes, the bills will be coming down, one, because the FOG campaign and that work will be winding down. And then also we are shifting more and more to our in-house communication specialist.
Well, will we end the contract with CV Strategies at some point or not?
No, probably not. I mean, we will have to go out for an RFP. There are some things that we just can't do in-house, and there are some things where we have we've built up so much in terms of our communications. You've seen the lateral that goes out to the community. We're now doing the weekly drop, which the board is also receiving, which is a weekly newsletter that goes out internally. We've just increased our communication so dramatically that it probably is too much for one person. So we will still have some contract for some of the things that we can't do in-house or where we need additional support, but not to the extent or the level that we're using it, since we now have someone.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And then my second question, Claire's been with us for about a year now. And I was wondering why we don't see invoices for our council anymore, so that we can formulate some questions about it. I'm somewhat surprised at how much council is, and I have no way of knowing even what questions to ask because we don't see them anymore. Why is that? So
it's actually very atypical, I understand, for attorneys to provide those invoices in a public setting. So that was something that was somewhat unusual with our former general counsel, something that our current counsel and I talked about. So that's why you haven't seen those going forward. However, a few months ago, I had asked her to put together, and she provided to the board a summary of all of the work that had been done up to date to keep the board up to date. And the plan was to provide those periodically to the board, but it is unusual. And I'll let her speak to that a little bit more about providing the invoices, but she did provide a very thorough update a few months ago to the board in place of the invoices. So Claire, do you want to speak to that?
Well, just so you clarify and you understand where I'm coming from, why it may be atypical, it has been the norm here at West County Wastewater for 39 years. So if somebody that I represent asks me why we're paying what we're paying, I can't answer that question. And then we're not, so short of me making a request of Public Information Act, I don't know how to formulate questions about the spending that we're doing, because I haven't counted up how much we spent this year, but it's probably going to be $1 million or more.
That's correct.
And that is shocking to me so I don't know, I just don't know how to even formulate a question about it.
Yeah, so let me answer that and then I'll turn it over to Claire and she can respond to that. So I think if you got a question from someone, I think that your answer to them is your answer is that you would refer it to the general manager, because 99% of the invoice is not something that any director would be able to speak to, because 99% of the work with general counsel is staff work. So that would be the response. Number two, that is why we've had general counsel provide updates to the board. And I will say that we've provided to the board because the bills have been very high. That has been a concern. And that's where we have been addressing many of the things that have been undone for the last 39 years. And so simply because it was the practice of the general counsel who had been here 40 years does not mean it was best practice. And it does not mean it was a practice that should be continued. So that's how you would respond, but I'll let our general counsel speak to that part of it, the invoices.
Sure. The invoices in general may or often do constitute attorney work product and attorney-client privilege material that is not subject to disclosure under the Public Records Act. So that's why we do not recommend, and we're not aware of any other agencies that publish their attorneys' invoices in the packet, just like we don't publish, or actually similarly, that we don't publish all the invoices for every contractor who provides services to the agency. That level of detail and granularity is not something that's typically placed before the board. If any of the directors want to have a specific discussion about this, however, it is not agendized at this time, and therefore we cannot have any further discussions other than, again, brief questions or brief answers during this time period on the agenda.
I would reiterate, though, you could ask a question at any time. You could send a question to the general manager at any time about expenditures. So if you see a question on the check register, like you do now, you can certainly send a question in advance. And if it's warranted, we could certainly put an item on the agenda for more discussion.
So I think the question's been answered several times. Is there a specific thing that you would like to know other than what we've been advised, Director Stanley?
And I want to just make sure that we're not getting off topic in regards to questions, so we can always agendize if we want to dig in deeper. So we can agendize if we have a particular question outside of the invoice.
Right, but I believe that it's been answered as to why it is not appearing on there, and there is a specific legal reason why, and the explanation has been provided. Is there additional questions that you have, Director Stanley?
Nope, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Madam General Manager.
So if there are no other questions, that concludes our comments. We don't have any other comments at this time. And so the next item is the director's comments and meeting reports.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay, now is the time for directors to provide their reports of meetings and conferences attended. So, what say you? I know both Director Wiener and I attended a very exciting conference. So would you like to start, Director Wiener?
once you figure out the mute button.
Notice I didn't start talking because I couldn't get the mute button to work. Yes. I attended the El Sobrante Chamber of Commerce meeting and am now a board member of the El Sobrante Chamber of Commerce only because I attend all the time and they needed board members. Not because I added anything to their discussion. I also attended the mayor's conference, the presentation by the Contra Costa Racial Justice Oversight Body. The presentation was by the Contra Costa Racial Justice Oversight Body. Their goals are increased diversion, community capacity funding, ensuring collection and reporting of accurate and current data in all criminal justice and law enforcement agencies countywide. There was also a report from the Air District, and apparently aviation fuel still has lead in it, something I had no clue, which is super dangerous and appalling that that's still true. I attended the El Sobrante Municipal Advisory Committee, and the presentation there was by Active Contra Costa, which works with the County Public Works Department on planning around active transportation. Active transportation is all human-powered forms of transportation, scooters, skates, skateboards, and they try to have public facilities available for all those forms of transportation. I also attended the Bioneers Conference. And the Bioneers motto is solutions from the heart of nature. The 3-day conference was devoted to the replacement of the mythos of capitalism and colonialism with the philosophy and practical solutions of a regenerative culture and economy, which will reverse the damage capitalism and colonialism have done to humans and their environment. Central to many of the presentations was social and environmental justice, because we cannot recover the planet without putting the well-being of all humans, especially indigenous peoples, as the primary goal of the movement to stop and reverse climate change. While the goals of the Bioneers seem unattainable, most of the presentations were about economically successful and practical solutions that are needed to reverse the addition of CO2 into the atmosphere, the major contributor to global warming and human habitat destruction. I recommend following the Bioneers by signing up for their electronic newsletter, podcasts, and video lectures. I would like to stress that our wastewater plant uses biology and biological processes from the heart of nature to solve the issues of human health and habitat destruction that used to be problems of untreated human waste. Going forward, we need to succeed at our goals for the reversal of CO2 production and protecting our treatment plant and community from sea level rise. That's it.
Thank you, Director Weiner. Very good. Thank you so much. Director Stanley, Vice President Zepeda, anything to add? Nothing from Director Stanley. Vice President Zepeda, you're up. Go ahead.
Yeah, want to just update our agency. One of our partners is the city of Richmond. They are going through some leadership change. So right now they have an interim city manager again. Their city attorney is no longer with them. This has all become effective in a couple of weeks. So in case we had any agreements or contracts or conversations with the current city manager or city attorney, let's make sure that we touch base with them and whoever the replacements or interims will be. So that came out in a couple of meetings with the city of Richmond, which makes me our agency is doing good comparatively there, but just again, FYI, leadership change within the city of Richmond. If we have anything pending, I think we had our JPA. I think there were some bill issues there maybe. So we want to make sure that we reach out to the right people. So they said, if you need the interim city manager effective in a couple of weeks here, December 1st, will be the vice city manager or the co-city manager. She'll become the interim for right now until the city finds somebody else. But if you need a connection or anything, please let me know and I can help out. And that is it from so far from the meetings. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been busy already in November. We've had a very busy November. And thank you, Ms. Lisa and the team. I saw the websites and LinkedIn and Facebook. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Miss Angela Andrews, and I received the Ellen Hill Touch Awards. It was unexpected, but nice to receive those awards, especially with Miss Angela. Made it even more special. I actually helped put together our racial justice oversight body presentation. I sit on that body for the county. I had several meetings with Senator Padilla's office and Senator Feinstein's office and Ms. Barbara Lee's office and Congressman DeSaulni's office about the infrastructure bill. We've been pushing, and we finally, as you all know, we finally got it. It was finally signed on Monday, so we're looking forward to seeing what that means for our agency here, as well as our communities in the next few months down the road. We've had a number of webinars come through, both CASA and ACWA. I will be attending the ACWA conference at the end of the month. That's the end of these months. I believe our council is attending. Yes, Ms. Claire? Yes. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay. There's an in-person and a virtual. So if you haven't signed up for in-person, please see if you can sign up for the virtual portion of the conference, because it is there's a lot of really good information that is coming forth for that. There's a lot of good conferences. As I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, there's a lot of good webinars on leadership that are being published that we should be trying to sign up for. We've had a lot of local meetings, women in wastewater and women in water, period. I've been attending. And tomorrow, I'm very excited because I will be giving a presentation to NASA Ames as part of a Women in Science program, okay, to talk about opportunities for women in science that don't follow the traditional path, but deal with bioastronomy, technology, and just how you can be a scientist, but also explore lots of other careers where science and technology meet. I'm very excited about that. Other than that, unless anybody else has anything to say, Ms. Collins?
I just wanted to respond to a comment or a question that Director Stanley had made earlier. She had said that she'd emailed you earlier, and she did email today at 6:17 p.m., but I did want to let Director Stanley know that the next scheduled training for you is December 1st, the day of the next board meeting. And Allison West was hoping to hear from you directly in order to set up that time and the Zoom approach. So I would recommend that you contact her directly in response to her email of October 29th.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. If there are no more questions and no more comments, I will leave you with this as we finish out November and Indigenous Peoples Month and Native American Heritage Month with this Native American saying, give thanks for unknown blessings already on their way. With that, I bid you a good evening. Have a safe journey for this rest of this month. And Miss Brenda, Madam Clerk, will you please tell us when we will meet again?
Thank you. Our next board meeting will be held on December 1st, and the meeting is adjourned at 7:05 p.m. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Good night.
That's right. Thank you. Thanksgiving. Good night.